I, Zohran Mamdani,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States.
America, New York City just elected an openly socialist mayor who literally said during his inauguration he's going to govern as a socialist. Zohran Mamdani was sworn in by the one, the only Bernie Sanders himself, and he's already promising free childcare, free bus transportation, government-run grocery stores, and of course, massive tax increases on quote-unquote the wealthy. But here's what's really insane. New York is already running a $4 billion budget deficit while being the highest tax city in America. And somehow taking even more of your money is supposed to fix the problem.
Making sure that people can live in affordable housing is not radical. It is the right and decent thing to do.
What is up, guys? Tyson here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. This is the blueprint on how liberal cities destroy themselves. Promise free everything, demonize the people who create jobs, and then act shocked when businesses and taxpayers flee to red states. Let me break down what just happened in New York, because this is absolutely historic and not in a good way. Zohran Mamdani didn't just win the mayoral race, he ran explicitly as a Democrat socialist and won with over 90,000 volunteers knocking doors across the city.
Thank you for electing Zohran Mamdani as your mayor. New York, thank you for inspiring our nation. Thank you for giving us from coast to coast the hope and the vision that we can create government that works for all, not just the wealthy and the few.
Bernie Sanders flew in to swear him in personally, and he's celebrating this as the biggest political upset in modern history. Think about that for a second, guys. The guy who honeymooned in the Soviet Union is bragging about installing a socialist mayor in America's largest city.
This was not as much a celebration as it was validation.
Housing is a human right. Fight.
For tenants who have felt forgotten until now.
This is like really rare for somebody, a mayor, to come to the tenants, to hear what we have to say, to hear what we're going through.
Within hours of being sworn in, Mamdani left City Hall to visit tenants living in dilapidated apartments with mold and violations. He signed 3 executive orders targeting landlords, including reviving the mayor's office to protect tenants and directing the city's legal team to intervene in bankruptcy proceedings against a landlord with 93 buildings.
And I am also proud to announce that I will be signing an executive order directing HPD to work alongside the Department of Buildings, the newly invigorated Mayor's Office to Protect Tenants, the Department of Consumer and Worker Protection, and our newly created Office of Mass Engagement to hold rental rip-off hearings.
But here's what they're not telling you. When you make it impossible for landlords to actually make money, they stop maintaining properties and eventually abandon them. Then they're either sold or the city takes them over. They become even worse. This isn't theory, folks. This is exactly what happened in New York in the 1970s when rent control destroyed the housing market. Now let's talk about Bernie Sanders' speech at the inauguration, because he laid out the entire socialist playbook. He promised that New York under Zohran Mamdani will provide free childcare, free bus transportation, and government-run grocery stores.
Providing free and high-quality childcare is not radical. Countries all over the world have done it for years. It is what our kids require if they're going to be well prepared for school, and what working parents desperately need. It is, in fact, what every city in America should be doing.
Let me actually translate what free actually means. It means paid for by somebody else's taxes. And in New York, that somebody else is probably the middle class and small business owners who can't afford to leave yet.
Free bus transportation is not radical. It will save workers time and money, protect our environment, and make the city more efficient.
But here's where it gets absolutely delusional. Bernie wants the government to run grocery stores. The same government that can't fix potholes, can't run the DMV effectively, can't balance a budget, and somehow they want to compete with Walmart and Target.
City-sponsored grocery stores will save society money. Good nutrition keeps us healthy, helps prevent chronic illnesses.
This is the same logic that gave us the Soviet Union bread lines and Venezuelans' empty shelves. When government controls the means of production and distribution, you don't get efficiency. You get corruption, waste, and shortages. Now, here's the part that should terrify every New Yorker. The city is already running a $4 billion budget deficit. They already have the highest taxes in America. And Bernie Sanders' solution, Zohran Mamdani's solution, tax the wealthy even more.
Demanding that the wealthy and large corporations start paying their fair share of taxes is not radical. It is exactly the right thing to do.
Let me explain what happens when you follow this playbook, because we've seen this play out in every blue city in America. Chicago raised taxes on everything: property taxes, bag taxes, social media taxes, air tax, water tax, you name it. And what happened? Businesses left, property values dropped, and regular citizens had to carry more tax burden. Now, Chicago has a $1.6 billion budget deficit. Los Angeles, massive billion-dollar budget deficit. Seattle, facing a multi-billion-dollar shortfall. Denver, growing deficits. Every major blue city following this tax and spend playbook is going to go broke. They're going to file BK, and the pattern is absolutely identical. Promise free stuff, raise taxes on the rich, watch the rich leave, then raise taxes on everybody else to make up the difference. The top 1% already pays an overwhelming majority of taxes in New York, but when you keep raising taxes on people who create jobs and generate wealth, they don't just sit there and take it. They move. They move to places like Florida, Texas, Tennessee, where they can keep more of what they actually earn. Now, let's talk about what's happening in Seattle, because it shows you the same patterns of liberal priorities. Katie Wilson was just sworn in as Seattle's new mayor, and her first major act is defending Somali childcare centers accused of massive fraud. You cannot make this up, guys.
Even before her inauguration, Katie Wilson stepped into the national debate about the funding of Somali-run childcare centers.
Here's what happened if you've been living under a rock. Federal investigators and Washington Republicans are calling for audits of Somalian childcare centers that received millions in taxpayer dollars in Minnesota. There are serious questions about fraud and whether the money actually went to childcare or somewhere else entirely.
Wilson wasn't joking when she posted her support for Somali childcare providers, condemning what she calls a surveillance campaign by extremist influencers.
Now, Mayor Wilson called federal scrutiny a surveillance campaign by extremist influencers. Let that sink in. Asking where taxpayer money went is now considered extremism. The Justice Department even stepped in, with Assistant Attorney General warning Seattle to chill regarding Wilson's protected speech defending these particular centers.
State Rep and Washington GOP Chair Jim Walsh echoing the calls for further investigation. His colleague Travis Couture has floated a bill requesting an outside audit.
We're not doing the due diligence to look into who we're paying.
That's the issue. It's not racism, it's not surveillance, but basic accountability on how tax dollars are being spent. Now let's connect the dots between what's happening in New York and Seattle, because it's the exact same playbook that's destroying blue cities across America. Step 1, promise free everything to voters who don't understand basic economics. Step 2, demonize the wealthy and businesses as greedy oppressors. Step 3, raise taxes to pay for the free stuff. Step 4, watch watch businesses and wealthy taxpayers leave. Step 5, raise taxes on the middle class to make up the difference. Step 6, blame Republicans and systematic inequality when the city goes broke.
Governor Bob Ferguson telling Fox 13 this week that the state has hard decisions to make if it wants to balance its budget.
New York is already on step 5. They've driven out so many wealthy residents and businesses that they're squeezing out the middle class harder than they ever have before. Seattle is right behind them, defending fraud while facing multi-billion-dollar budget shortfalls. Here's the beautiful irony. While these socialist mayors promise to make their cities more affordable, they're actually making them unlivable for everyone except for the very, very rich and the very poor. The middle class is fleeing to red states in record numbers because they're tired of paying 50% of their income in taxes for services that just keep getting worse.
The billionaire class in this city and in this country have got to understand that in America, they cannot have it all. That America, our great country, must belong to all of us, not just a few.
Bernie Sanders talks about making America belong to us, but what he's actually creating is a system where productive people subsidize unproductive people until the productive people actually leave. Then everyone suffers because there's no one left to pay for the free stuff. America, what we're witnessing in New York and Seattle is the socialist playbook in real time. Promise free everything, demonize success, raise taxes, defend fraud as protected speech, then act shocked when the city spirals into bankruptcy. Zohran Mamdani literally campaigned on governing as a socialist, and New Yorkers elected him anyways. Now he's signing executive orders targeting landlords, promising government-run grocery stores, and planning massive tax increases, all while the city runs on a $4 billion deficit. Katie Wilson is defending Somali childcare centers accused of fraud, calling federal oversight a surveillance campaign, while Seattle faces a multi-billion-dollar budget crisis. This is what happens when ideology trumps accountability. The pattern here is clear. Chicago, Los Angeles, Seattle, Denver, every blue city follows this playbook and goes broke. They promise free stuff, raise taxes on the rich, watch the rich leave, then raise taxes on the middle class and everybody else. It is a death spiral that ends with a Detroit-level decay. Here is my message to anybody living in these cities. You don't have to stay and watch your cities collapse. Texas, Florida, Tennessee, and other red states are thriving because they understand that prosperity comes from creating value, not redistributing wealth. They have lower taxes, better services, growing economies, and leaders who don't call fraud investigations surveillance campaigns. The exodus from blue states to red states is rapidly accelerating, and it's not because of the weather. It's because people are tired of being taxed into poverty to fund socialist experiments that fail every single time. Bernie Sanders can celebrate installing a socialist mayor in New York, but give it 5 years and we'll see the same results we always see. Higher taxes, worse services, more crime, and mass exodus of everyone who can afford to leave. Let me know what you think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.